What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing a tier list of the first baseman in MLB The Show. If you guys are new here, please make sure you guys like and subscribe. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this little tier list series that we're doing. We're going to be doing each position, breaking them down player by player and going with it from there. So let's start things off here with Babe Ruth. Number one, I think he's the best first baseman overall. 125s across the board. Definitely one of the best ones in the game. I don't think there's any questions to be asked about that. Babe Ruth is the top first baseman in the game, and I don't think it's even close. Number two, we have good old Manny Machado. We're going to put him as second overall. I think once we get some more lefties in the game, Manny will be more prevalent. Manny, diamond defense at first base as well as third base. Obviously, he will be on the third base list as well. 125 clutch, has good contact versus right, has a lot of good things going for him. You got to love Manny Machado as far as that goes. And honestly, man, I like his swing quite a bit. I like it a lot. And he's one of those cards that has good stats too. You know, he has a good arm and things like that. His speed is the only thing that kills him. He only has like a 50 speed. But the rest of his game is really good. So Manny Machado, in my opinion, is the second best first baseman in the game. Third best right now, Lou Gehrig. I've been using this card on my team because of the righty-heavy meta right now. I love Lou Gehrig. He's solid. His swing is amazing. Some would arguably put him second over Machado, definitely, especially right now in the meta of the right-handed pitchers. Lou Gehrig has insanely good stats, insanely good quirks. He does probably have the best quirks of the group, other than Babe, obviously. I mean, he's got dead red, breaking ball hitter, first pitch hitter, unfazed, rally monkey fighter, situational hitter, bad ball hitter, table set. Like, he's got all these quirks. The only thing that's different about Lou in comparison to the rest of them is his defense is not the greatest. 73, Silver Shield. Babe also has 125 everything, other than Lou really doesn't. But Lou hits both sides really well. So Lou Gehrig is a solid option, especially for 40K. I definitely would probably use him over the other two right now if you're balling on a budget. Or honestly, he's not really even a budget at this point. He's actually probably the third or second best first baseman with the meta we're in right now. Moving on to the A tier, we're going to go ahead and put Mark McGwire here. Might surprise you guys a little bit of why he's not here. I hate his swing. His swing is terrible. He's 6'5", and I don't like taller first basemen as it is. I don't like taller players in general, so he's kind of hard for me to hit with, but he does have 125 power on everything, and 99 clutch at parallel 3 is what I have him at, so I'm not a huge fan of Mark McGwire. You know, if you use him on the lower difficulties, be my guest. I was good with him on the lower difficulties, but on Legend, I'm just not good with him at all. I think he kind of has a tier of his own in this list, but I don't really like him that much. Moving on to the next best first baseman, in my opinion, is Mr. Jock Peterson. I'm actually going to put him ahead of Mark McGwire because I think he's better in my opinion, especially for the meta of what we are playing in right now. Jock has an incredible swing. Good enough fielding, not very good fielding to be honest, but it's good enough. Passes, it's serviceable, especially with the way this game plays. Bronze shield over at first base. Has really good power versus righties, good clutch, 125 clutch to be exact. And I used him at first base for a long time until I got Lou Gehrig, and Lou Gehrig has been really good for me. It's been better than what Jock is. Jock does have decent quirks, you know, dead red, pinch hitter, bad ball hitter, homebody. I do like Jock Peterson, and I do think he belongs in A tier. I just don't think he's as good as the guys in S tier or the top 3. I don't think he cracks my top 3. Moving on to the next spot here, we're going to put Kensuke in this list. I put him in this list because I think he can be a good player, a good utility player, almost anywhere you play him. He's going to be in a lot of the lists. I think he's a good catcher. I think he's a good first baseman. He plays a good, solid place everywhere. He is a little short for first base, and he doesn't really have the power versus lefties you'd like to see at first base, like I said. But his swing is so glitchy that it's just unbelievably good. I love this card so much. He's so easy to hit with, and honestly, he kills me every time I face him. So, Kensuke, I'm kind of a big fan of Kensuke. I would recommend you guys complete the WBC program and use this card at some position that you need. Whether it's catcher, whether it's first base, whether it's third base, whether it's the outfield. He belongs on your team if you're balling on a budget and you just don't have all the cards in the world. Moving on to the next tier, I think that's going to round out that tier. Actually, we're going to put one more person in this tier. Stan Musial. He is the Cardinals set collection. I liked Stan a lot at the beginning of the game. He was one of my favorite players to use. The only thing that Stan really lacks is the power versus righties, which you would like to see higher than 82. Lefty-wise, he has 97 power. His clutch is 125. Has good enough for fielding over there. First base is his secondary position, so he does have a bronze shield over there. He's not very fast as well. But contact-wise, his PCI is huge on Legend, which really helps that part. He has good power versus lefties. Righties, like I said, only 82 power, 80 at no parallel at all. So it's kind of rough on that part of his game. But he honestly has a really good swing. I liked his swing a lot. And I think he belongs on this A tier. Moving on to B tier, we're going to go ahead and put these guys that are kind of all similar. They are all power, but they don't have necessarily the best splits. So those guys are kind of where I'm going to go with that. Rafael Devers is really good in the meta right now just because there's so many righties, but against lefties, he cannot hit a lefty. 98 contact and 75 power just doesn't cut it versus lefties. Granted, he does have the 104 clutch, which really helps, but it just does not work against lefties in this game. It doesn't cut it. Christian Walker, kind of the same deal here. Contacts are 80, mid-80s. His clutch is only 80. He's not that great unless you want him on the lower difficulty. He has 99 fielding, so he is the best fielder on the list. But honestly, I'm putting him in the same tier as these guys just because of his contact numbers. Eugenio Suarez is the same issue as Christian Walker. He has 83 contact versus righties, which is the big meta of the game. 93 versus lefties, which is doable. And 105 clutch, which is also doable. So I would put Eugenio Suarez ahead of Christian Walker. I just don't believe that Eugenio Suarez really has a big enough PCI on Legend to make him worth your while. Hall of Fame and lower, he does have a really good swing, so I do like him there. But I would not be playing Eugenio Suarez if you're playing Legend. Moving on to C tier, we're going to go ahead and put Arenado, Goldschmidt, and I'm going to put Freddie Freeman here just because he is a lefty. I think they kind of go on the same tier. Arenado has exceptional defense. Even if you're playing the live series Nato, I personally really liked Arenado. I enjoyed using him at the beginning of the game. He was one of my favorite hitters. 91 contact versus right, 85 contact versus left. Obviously, his power numbers aren't the greatest. Clutch 93, has good fielding, great fielding. But his swing was the big thing for me. I really liked his swing. Goldie, same things, similar to Arenado. His defense is not nearly as good as Nato's, but he does hit lefties at a much higher rate than Nato does. I believe it's max power versus lefties. So Paul Goldschmidt is one of those guys that if you guys want to hit a lefty, he's a good bench bat. Definitely one of those guys you bring in off the bench. He has 125 contact versus lefties, 114 power versus lefties, and 99 clutch. So, like, if there's nobody on and you need a swing and you need to hit off a lefty, bring in Paul Goldschmidt. That'll work. He plays first base at a decent rate, you know. Freddie Freeman, he's just a lefty with high contact. Doesn't have a ton of power, but he has enough power to get it over the fence against righties. I like Freddie Freeman just because of his swing. His swing is good. I usually do prefer his swing. Most of the time during the year, I think you could get away with using Freddie Freeman still. I'm just not a big fan of using him. I think another person that's very similar to Freddie Freeman is like a Rowdy Tellez. I'd rather use Rowdy than Freddie Freeman, but I don't have him on the list. So I think Freddie Freeman is one of those guys you use as a necessity. These last two guys that are here, I definitely would not be using them. Jeff Bagwell has a horrific swing, terrible swing. One of the worst in the game, to be exact. Rhys Hoskins, he doesn't have the contact versus righties you want to see. His swing's pretty good, but the contact versus righty just absolutely kills this card, unfortunately. And that's really what just drives the driving price down of this card for me to use in ranked seasons, especially on Legend. Even on Hall of Fame, this card I don't think would be the greatest card, but I still think you could get away with it if you're a good player. I'm not a big Rhys Hoskins fan, so that's kind of where I'm at with Rhys. And that's the end of my first base tier list. Like I said, there's not really a lot of good first basemen right now, so it's kind of hard to make a tier list on them. But I figured I would anyways, just because we're in the first baseman tier list. We're in the tier list flow. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure you guys like and subscribe, as I said before. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.